I'm really grateful to Subramaniam for giving me this opportunity. Okay, my talk is going to be on paradigm shift for engineering jobs towards Industry 4.0. Many of you guys are studying this course of engineering as for having a better employment or for future, education and employment. Ultimately, employment is going to be throughout our life. And so I thought this would be the right time to pitch in the engineering jobs towards the employment of Industry 4.0. See, jobs available in industries are very many, but it can be classified into two, basically technical and non-technical, because in both engineering requirements, we have the technicality and the non-technicality involved in industry, which is going to employ us. Further, the people who are offering us the jobs are classified as industries and the segment of services, utilities and services. If I go with the umbrella of industries, there are people who are taking a lot of employment, potential employment opportunities for engineers are refineries, chemicals, constructions, building materials. You have, many textiles, telecoms, heavy engineering, manufacturing, FMCG, a lot other things like, production of food and agricultural productions. Many things are happening towards the industry segment. Similarly, the high recruiters are on the service segments like education, health, water, sanitation. We have on sewerage, we have electricity, we have railways, highways, waterways, pipelines, harbors, ports, and many military, many organizations are all recruiting us. And one pathy is like, engineers are also recruited in non-technical jobs like marketing, into supply chain management, HR, and into finance. See, whatever is the the POSHEC or the coverage which we have for this jobs, these jobs are going for a higher order change. Higher order change means it is going to involve a lot of skill improvement and quality that is expected from the employees who are going to be recruited into these jobs. Okay, these things are coming out only because of the industrial revolution. Industrial revolutions are as many as we have seen, like, we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is called as Industry 4.0. I'll not go into the history of the precedents, but I'll touch the earlier one. That is the Industrial Revolution 3. In the year 1950, after the invention of computers, Industrial Revolution 3 started. This is a time when we had the combination of telecom also helping the, along with electricity, going on with the computers. So this period had a remarkable change in the Industrial Revolution. A lot of things became automated, and then precision manufacturing are going on. In the sense, like, we had CNC machines come into place, precision joining and combinations all happened in industries. So we started getting onto the skilling aspect and the quality aspects from Industry 3, Industrial Revolution 3. Then in the year 1983, Tim Berners-Lee invented internet, and from then on, the scope or evolution became exponential. So then the industry started using internet, and they wanted to get the benefits out of the usage of internet in their organizations. See, in the year 2011, Germany went on with high-tech strategy development for its organizations. What they did was, they wanted to have the internet enabled along with the computing, and then go for the precision manufacturing and delivery of customer-related requirements. Subni, I'm getting a lot of people waiting room, admit. Should I do the admit, or they will automatically join?
Sir, I will do it.
Okay, no issues. So this Industry 4.0 is the one which went on with cyber enablement of the industry. So the best part of this revolution is the cyber physical systems came into place. It means cyber is computing, physical is the normal mechanisms. These two join together along with the internet environment, and they started. Any ideal Industry 4.0 machine, if you take, it will have a physical machine. It will be connected with a sensor, and the sensor will be spiking out signals, and these signals will land onto a computer, and the computer will give the digital information to the IoT, which the IoT will connect again with the machines which are interconnected. This is how the flow is. So you need to know the new entry into this kind of a flow is nothing but a sensor, and the sensor, it is cyber connected, and the cyber connection leads to an IoT. So these three elements, sensor, your cyber connection, and your IoT, are the three elements which are going to change the whole mechanical or the physical machine which is being used. From now on, if I say any word called machine, it means machine, it means equipment, it means gadget, it means any kind of a device. So it is a combination of anything. So it includes the whole spectrum, wherever the internet is used, and the internet is going to help us being connected. See, as you are in engineering college, I also waited in this engineering college 32, 33 years ago. And then we wanted to get into employment. So we always do something smart to equip ourselves, because being in a college environment is different, and being selected for an employment is entirely different. So when you want to get into employment, you need to have a kind of an edging. If you want to have an edging, then means you need to prepare yourself. So I will go on with the mode of preparation, then go on to the requirements of Industry 4.0. See, Industry 4.0 is evolved, and it has a certain kind of a competent skills. Competent skills are nothing but you have skills. I mean, you study now in engineering. That's called knowledge. You enrich your knowledge. As you enrich your knowledge, you become eligible for applying it. That is called the skilling part. When you apply your knowledge, it's called skill. And when the skill is being made into a successful form of creation, that is called competence. So a competent skill is nothing but where you have the ability to successfully generate or create your kind of work which can be repeated over and over so that people can accept you. This is what is called the competence skills. Industry 4.0 requires competence skills. Competence skills of Industry 4.0 are normally classified into an acronym called MASTER. M is for machining skills, A for academic excellence, S for self-managed skills, T for technology skills, E for engagement skills, and R for radiant skills. So you can remember this word MASTER, and then you can prepare yourself. It means the machine skill is the one which is the premier one, because all machines are going to be intelligent. So how to get into these things for getting on with being equipped for handling these machines. Machines of cyber physical systems, CPS, have two ways of entry into it. One, you get the knowledge and you join, or you get the experience and you join. See, when you want to get into an organization with a machine with cyber physical system, there are 5 hierarchy or architecture. The architecture is like you have the connection, conversion, cyber, cognition, and configuration. Do not worry about these terms, but you take 5 C's. 5 C's are required for the machine operations. I will explain this 5 C's in the latest segment. Then it comes to your academic excellence. Academic excellence is nothing but it has 3 compartments. One is your knowledge, then is your analytical skills, then third is your execution skills. Knowledge skills are nothing but whatever you study, which is called the basics, which has to be applied, and then it has to be advanced. So there are 3 phases of knowledge which people are expecting in industries. Then the next part is your analytical skills. Analytical skills, again, is a combination of various aspects like numerical, logical, interpretation of graphs, maps, and charts. Because these are the things which computer can understand. So accordingly, you should be in a position to narrate it to the computer. Then the third part is execution, because things have to be made into a concrete realization. So you have a lot of things like, you should have planning skills. You should do with a lot of articulation within yourself, get along with other people and do the group discussion, then come to a creative form, then model it and present it. So this kind of a flow through is called the execution skills. So we have covered the machine skills and the academic skills. Then the next part is the trivial one, which is the psychic aspect of the employee who is going to work. Psych is normally not told or taught. It is only evaluated. It is seen as the goodness within the employee. It is being evaluated with 3 parameters. One is called the attitudes, second is perception, and third is the motivation. Attitudes are nothing but what do you think within yourself, which is favorable to you, which is not favorable to you, which you like, which you don't like, what situations you go through with and which you are hating, what is your opinions about certain things. Everything is called attitude. So you connect yourself towards the attitudes. So how are you towards the industry 4.0 is the first evaluation which will be made. And the second part is you will have the part called perception. Perception is linking the untold events, or how you are linking linking the dots and making it into a full picture. How do you perceive? So is it in favor or not in favor, or how you are going to take it up is the perception part which will be measured. And the third is the motivation, what drives you and what does not drive you, so that you don't do mistakes or anything. Positive motivation is called rewards, and negative motivation is called reprimands or punishments. So this is the third segment of skills which are going to be evaluated in the employees. And the fourth segment is very prominent, or requirement for you is the technological skills. In short, I will brief it now because I'm going to talk about it in the later part of my discussion or articulation. See, it is coming with an acronym called 2S, 2C, 2A, IBR. Simulation, systems integration. You have cloud computing, cybersecurity, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, IoTs, big data, and robotics. These are the technologies that are being facilitated through this industry 4.0 for now. Future technologies will keep growing and it will come into evolution. As we go, you have to pick it up and you have to grow along in your career of employment. The next part of this skilling after T is your engagement roles. Engagement roles are when you join an organization, how will you grow in an organization? The normal part of an entry into an industry 4.0 is called the operator, the person who operates the machine. These are intelligent machines. It cannot be given to less educated or less skilled people. So engineers will be the highly specialized people who will be operating those machines, because it is not only on the investments which is rich, it is rich with a lot of features that are intelligent to any operating systems in an enterprise. So it starts with operation, then it goes with maintenance, then you get on the integration part, and then regeneration, and then you become a leader. These are the 5 skill sets. These 5 skill sets are matched to the first one, that is the machine skills. The machine skills, when you know, the first one I said there, you have connection. The connection is done by the operator. It means he will do the connection of the sensor, he will tether the communication, and then he'll plug and play. This is the first part. The second part is you go for the second level, the conversion level. Conversion level is you take the data and convert it into an information. And when you convert into information, you need to consider the health of the machine, the degradation of the machine, and the performance of the machine. So then only you can maintain. So the second part of your cyber physical system has come. Then the third part, which is called the cyber in mission hierarchy, here it is called as the integration specialist. Every machine can have certain constraints. Here, our CPS systems will have constraints of time and memory space. So these have to be clustered and data mined. So what is to be used should be kept, and others should be, hived off. So this is the third part, which is called the integration specialist job. The fourth is the regenerative one. Regeneration is nothing but you have a lot of machines, not one single machine. So you need to integrate all these machines and get a better performance, like simulation, synthesis, diagnosis, visualization, and then you go on with the decision making in an organization. So you need to do all these aspects. That's called the cognition level in a machine. And here it is called the regenerative specialist roles. And finally, the leader level requires making every machine and resources be self-controlled. Self-controlled for all variations, self-controlled for all your resilience, and then your disturbances. So machines are so fragile, it has to be protected. It is like human being. It's an alter ego of a human being which you're creating in a machine. So you need to protect them as like you have to protect a human resource. The last part is your radiant skills. Radiant skills for Industry 4.0 employment is recall, relate, and refine. Recall means you should be quick enough to catch, and you have to recall the incident or the observation you had in the past, and then relate it with that and how you have cleared it in the past, and then you have to refine for the future. This is how these three segments of recall, relate, and refine, which is called as the radiant skills, which are going to be evaluated or identified in the employee's potential for being employed in an Industry 4.0. So I've told you about the evaluation for selection, which is called the master skilling development in the employees. But now you should know how to go for this level of skills, because you're already studying. You're studying the tech inputs. You're studying the engineering inputs. But how you should be prepared, because getting a degree does not mean that you will get an employment. So you have to be smart enough to position yourself into a better place for a ready-to-use kind of a resource. If you want to become a ready-to-use resource, then means you need to prepare yourself accordingly. So I'm going to give you a tip for TLE. TLE means training and learning, which is called the pedagogy part and the learning part. And E is the education. So training and learning is going to be together, because here in Industry 4.0, we don't see employees or potential employees or the engineering grads who are entering into our organizations as young kids. We are expecting them to be knowledgeable. Further, your organizations, your institutions, which has to train you. So we want to include both the teacher and the student together, which we call as TL. The trainer and the learner. See, the trainer and the learner should be prepared for certain aspects, then only they can get into it. See, for the first thing is, you study many things in your engineering, but now when it comes for Industry 4.0, you need to choose such knowledge and such skill which is going to be worth in the future, and then prepare for it. You should not take everything together. Take which is suitable for you, and you develop that first. And the second part is, you have to take tasks for grooming in such a way that you don't go on to the lower plank of skills required, but slightly above it, so that you can be approachable for employment. If you are in the mundane or in a common plank, then everyone will be competing. So you cannot get an access to get into the employment region. So you need to have all your tasks aligned above the base of a skill requirement. Then the third is, you need to have stretch and risk in learning. It is, you have to start applying on your own. It's not like you will be tutored, like you will have to function like this. No, you need to have a lot of imaginations and innovativeness so that you give a creative output to the organization. So these three are more important for your preparation. When you prepare this, then comes the collaborative assignments in your study place, which is called the community of learners should be important. See, already students will have their own groups. So you need to create communities in such a way that these people take peer learning as their important part, and then they start articulating, debating, and then coming out with suggestions. Because there they will not have any phobia of evaluation. They will be free to do it. That at times they may be cranky, but it's not a problem, but let them be. Because only when they do a brainstorm, which is going to be out of box, then things will come out for a realization. So these community of learners, what they have to do is they have to pick topics in such a way that they are interested and they can model with a mentor. So that when they model with a mentor, they have more approaches for learning. These aspects are the ones which will facilitate group learning or participatory learning, and involvement in a common decision making in an organization. So this skilling is also required. And the next part is the online requirement. See, learning today is now gone online, and it is called as asynchronous learning or synchronous learning. All the asynchronous part which you have to learn on your own and out of your classroom should be asynchronous. So you have knowledge sources, you go search, find out, and learn it and come. Synchronous is when you have a teacher or somebody presenting to you, you need to dedicate yourself with the discipline and then sit and do it, because virtually people are connected. So time is the one which has to be a common resource which cannot be wasted. So you should be having the discipline to come and sit and get onto it. So the aspect of getting the synchronous and asynchronous learning through online is another feature which is enabled by Industry 4.0. And finally, your teacher or a student should have the following skills. One, the problem solving skill. Second, you should have analytical, creative, and critical thinking. You should do analysis. You should be seeing things in a different form, and you should criticize whatever you're doing. If you can take all this thinking in a same plank, then it will be helping you. So it will help you cover a lot of risks, which is going to be in the future. And then the next part is computing and networking, which is which is very required for this existence into Industry 4.0, or it is detrimental for your existence. So these are the planks on which your T and L should be facilitated. If you do this, then you need to have a way of education. See, the education what we are having now in our institutions or higher learning educational institutions or universities or wherever it is, it's more of a lecture-oriented kind of a thing. So this in engineering institutions, you have another practicals. These two are the things which facilitate. But Industry 4.0 has a radical shift. The radical shift is nothing but, see, normally the thing is you have in your organizations which is called the hear learn. But Industry 4.0 goes for see learn. See learn is nothing called the visualizations. The visualization learning is the one which is going to facilitate for future. It's because when we see things, we see in our own way, we see it in our own perspective, we have our own learning, and it remains in our mind. That is why influences of the pictures have a great influence of retention. Industry 4.0 calls for retention. So you have to have a lot of displays, animations, videos, prototypes, and then experimentations. These are the visual learning aspects or the see learning aspects that is expected from the employees who have gone through this process, be available for Industry 4.0 employment. The next is personalization. See, we cannot be monitoring people to study or learn and come. Evaluations cannot be done on that aspect. You should have a personal interest for growing. So personalization is self-learn. Self-learn is the one which makes people come out with the opportunity being timed to them to be groomed, and then they come out. So self-learn is through a lot of aspects. It's beyond classroom. It can be blended, but it is beyond classroom. So when it comes to the self-learning aspects, you have combinations like your cloud computing, which can give you a lot of materials that you can learn through. Then you have mobile apps available, so you can register and you get learn through them. Or you have MOOC, massive open online courses, lot of available. You can get certified and you become prominent for industries. And then the last is your social media. You have a lot of things through WhatsApp, Facebook, and many things. A lot of learning materials are also shared. So through this thing, you can learn a lot. Okay, this is the personalization. The next part is called the gamification. Life is a game. Life is not to be taken so serious, but to win is a serious thing, because the end parameter for winning is money. So we cannot risk money, because the money is going to lose resources. Resources, you know, all the forums, man, machine, materials, and methods. You can lose if you don't make enough money. So you should be cautious enough into doing it, but you should also be aware that you are the one who can make it and you should not lose it. So gamification is the part of evaluation that is coming into Industry 4.0. Games can be like, it can be looking fun, but it is not real fun. It is like you have a freedom to do it. It's called fun learn. You have a lot of quizzes, you have puzzles, jigsaws, riddles, simulations. All these parts are your evaluation types. You can create within your community of learners, your institutions, and then you can give it out. So this is the way the gamification is going to influence us for our being evaluated as a knowledgeable person for Industry 4.0. The last part is projects and problem solving. Because everything is materialized in an industry, you need to have on-the-job experience. You need to look into the performance of the organization and then go on with potential insights which are available in the organization. So these OPIs are the requirements of your projects and problem solving. So the education part of your visualization, personalization, gamification, and your final projects and problem solving are the ones which has to be going through the process of nurturing an employee who is now a potential student in an university or a higher learning institution. So this is how the Industry 4.0 requires you people. But now I'll come to you, like what is that we are seeing as a giant in front of us so that it should accept us. The Industry 4.0, by all means, can be easily understood if you take an example of your smartphone. Smartphone, every one of us have. But do you know, within a smartphone, there are various sensors. There are sensors like accelerometers. You have near field communication sensors, NFCs. You have light sensors, proximity sensors, magnetometers. You have pedometers. You have fingerprints. So every one of you is now holding an Industry 4.0 device or a gadget with you. But without knowing what it is, we are still using it. For easy as analogy of conclusion towards what is Industry 4.0, I'll tell you how the evolution of smartphone came and how it can be related so that you can think while you prepare yourself for Industry 4.0. See, days ago or years ago, we had the landline in our homes and offices. These phones were rigid, it was connected to a certain place, you cannot move it. So you have to go every time to it and start doing it. The revolution started when, after some time in the late 80s, pagers were introduced, which is a unidirectional or one-way kind of a textual message. The next form came the mobile phone, which had the landline use and the textual, which can be done on a two-way communication, which is the mobile. So a mobile phone, when it came in the early part of the 90s in India, it had a button phone. And a green button and red button were there, and you can also text. You have a keypad for it. The main thing what people did was they charged it, put it off, and then took around for using it. So they know only to connect and use it. This is the connection stage of an Industry 4.0. So you know how to use it, that's all. You don't know anything more than that, and you're not willing to do anything more. You protect it more. That is what is a connection stage. The second is conversion stage. See, when the same phone came and it started growing by time, it started going with a color display, and it had a rear camera, and then pictures can be taken and it can be kept on it, and you can have ringtones added to it. And then you started clipping your figures, you took figures, you tilted it, and you took selfies from the rear view camera, but then often non-aligned. And so we started using it. This is called the conversion stage, when we started taking a data and making it into an information. The third part is the cyber part. That is when our smartphones got the internet connections. Till then, we did not have internet. The internet connections, when it came to the phone, what happened was people started using it in a big way, because everyone was, this became an adult play studio. So people were able to go through all their childish requirements, like, they did a lot of browsing, they did a lot of downloading. They also used it, on a stage of requirement for emailing, many things. And then the phone also changed. It went from a button stage, it went to a touch screen. The display got enhanced. It went on with the lighter versions, and it had more memory capacities. Everything started changing. And your network provider also went in from 2G, 3G, and 4G. Your speeds of connections improved. So then this part of cyber really changed. So the physical system became a cyber physical system. This is called the cyber stage. The next stage is the cognition stage. Now that everyone has a phone and a mobile phone which can be used, what they did was they had to judiciously connect. What they did, they had a lot of office tools. You can have your Word, PowerPoint, Excel sheets, everything available. So you can do your office work. So you need not go to your computer every time. A mobile phone is required for you, enough. Then you have connections with the social media. Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn started coming in. Then you had people being connected. That's where you as a self got connected with your family, got connected with your friends, and then connected with your business. So there was a cognition evolving around it. This is how the total phone became a really dependable one. It is not for a play, it is for it has become an essential. The next part is the configuration stage. You can align it to our current way of working. We have everything today, right from web, voice, and video conferences. We have connectivities in all the phases. The configuration is brightness can be automatically adjusted in the phone. Wi-Fi, wherever you have mobile or Wi-Fi connections, it switches over. It is intelligent to take care of your security of yourself, facial recognition, and many things are there. Then you have AI, ML, Google Assistant. So your voice commands can be converted into an actuation in your phones. Then you have Google Docs, where you talk and it gets typed. And then you can convert it into word to voice. Many things can happen. These are the self-configuring parts where it takes care of being utilized for as an essential media for communication. This is how Industry 4.0 has come. See, if the internet had not been used in a phone, it would have been used in some other gadget, and it would have evolved that gadget. As the phone was simple and easy, and people have accepted it, so phone has become a disruptive innovation for various products. Today, you have demands on, you don't have demands on your cameras, your audio systems, recording systems, or whatever it is, because you are having it in your hand. And many things are being done here. So even a computer is out of requirement as long as you have a mobile phone which has an internet connection. The data requirements are the ones which are facilitating the requirement of a living for every human being in this industry. So since 2011 and till 20, around 9 years, this Industry 4.0 has reached such a exponential growth. And I have been researching this topic for the last 8 years. So I can give you a kind of a contemporary requirement of its evolution of how it is going. See, Industry 4.0 on technical reasons has certain functionalities. It is nothing but it has interoperability, transparency, real-time data acquisition and processing, and then digital automation. First is your interoperability. Interoperability means you have a physical system and you have a digital system. If any changes in your physical system, it is shown in your digital, and the digital you modify, it can be controlling your physical system. This is the interoperability. The second is transparency. Transparency is whatever you are seeing, the data, what you're seeing is same what I see. So the trust is built. So nobody can, today we are not doubting anything what is happening in a banking system because it's all digital. It's only because of the transparency. What is in your account is known to you and it is known to it. Then the third part is your real-time acquisition and data processing, where what you see is the same. It is done on a real time. It is not on a future time or on a past time. So as this happens, So it facilitates people to take on hand and be close to it. That is how the gadget has, or I4, that is Industry 4.0, is becoming very close to human beings. The last is digital automation. Digital means you have anything can be input as in a digital form, can control the functioning of a machine. These four features or the functionalities of Industry 4.0 are not fixed. It will go further because it is only on an evolution stage. And a lot of things will come up. But on a summary, if you want to know what is Industry 4.0, by all means, it can be summed up as a cyber physical system with a AI, ML, and DT. AI is artificial intelligence, ML is machine learning, and DT is digital twin. AI is, because we are calling it intelligent, we have to make it intelligent. If you want to make it intelligent, you need to put certain extra effort than rather making it into a common machine. So an AI is the one, I'll go technically, I'll not explain on a layman parlance. It has a big data, it has a processed algorithm, it has experience fed into it, and then you can you can increase, adjust, or scale it. This is the things which you can do in a AI. But then these things, if you do, it is becoming a linear path. It happens in every machine when you can program. So any CNC machine can do this. But then what is the difference you can add to it, which is called the intelligence? It is called the cognition, correction, and amplification. See, cognition correction is if we as a human being know which is wrong, we don't do it. Similarly, a machine should also know this should not be done if certain parameters are not there. And it should do if certain parameters are there. That is called the cognition, correction, and amplification. For amplification, we have smart tools associated with a machine, like organizers. Organizers can be calendars, schedulers, your reminders, all those stuff. So that time-based, you are fitting that machine. Then second, knowledge base. When we don't know certain things, we go and approach certain sources, like it can be a Wikipedia, it can be a Google browser you search through, or go to your library and pick certain data. Like that, this machine should also be connected to some knowledge source. Then the third is visualization. We see certain things and we get reminded of. We see dashboards, we see a lot of graphs, maps, and charts and all. Similarly, a machine should also look into it and make corrections. Then we have, as human beings, the expert opinions. We can go bounce on somebody and find out like what is required for us, and then we take it up. This is the knowledge resources. Other than knowledge resources, we get it from the human beings, which are the which leads us to an astonishing breakthroughs, gives us surprise research, new path forwards, everything. So similarly, these people, the machine should also be in a position to connect with experts in case where it is required. Then the last part is looking into signs, symbols, signals, sounds, taking on to gestures. Everything makes us understand, we become intelligent. Similarly, the machine should also. So you have the machine always watching us. These are the features which make this machine become a permanent long-term memory storer. See, in human beings, we take everything good, but it is only on a transient stage. After a few, in a moment of non-repeatability, we forget it. So it is a transient, it is not in a long-term memory. But whatever you feed into these machines, it comes to a long-term memory. So this machine becomes intelligent. And it starts giving you betterments. Betterments like, the results are, you will have adjustments. Adjustments means take care of all variations. Resilience, take care of all adversities, which happens to the process. Then third, it gives you recommendations. Recommendations are nothing but taking care of the human deficiencies. Human deficiencies are three. One is memory. No two people have the same level of memory. Second is thinking. No two people have the same level of thinking. Third is our performance, dramatic performance. No two people have the same. So if a machine can give all this as a recommendation and you choose it, then you are smart. The machine is smart. So this is how the artificial intelligence is built. Then comes your ML, machine learning. Machine learning is not an explicit program. But there are certain data on which the machine responds itself. It makes its own kind of functioning. Without any explicit program, it functions. It has a linear perceptron. It means it has certain features which is connected. One, it is interactive. Second is featuring. Then third is your data mining, and then your chatbot. Interactive, charts, maps, graphs, all these are interactive. Features are modeling, your timing, your deployment, everything is features. Then your data mining, you have an algorithm, you have hyperparameters, you have classification regression, you have time series, anomaly detection, everything. All these things are your data mining part. And then your chatbot, which is enabled by text and voice. Again, this is again a linear part called ML. But ML alone cannot make this gadget or device or equipment or a machine into an intelligent one. So we have to have something smart in it, which is called the deep learning, DL. DeepL is it's something which is not on the formulas. It goes with biosensory information. Whatever we see, whatever we speak, whatever we feel, whatever we smell, whatever we taste, everything goes as information. This cannot be taken as a digital form of a numeral or a binomial way of measurement. So this is a non-polynomial actuation which is coming. It's binary sensor information, sensory information is a non-polynomial actuation. It is actually an artificial, neural network with a lot of, networks, varied networks, connection of varied networks. It is with a non-polynomial nature and with a hidden width of unbounded information. It's all hidden. So this biosensory information has to be first recognized, then probabilistically analyzed and translated so that the machine takes control. Okay, this happened, and so this is what is the requirement, and it automatically functions. This is the ML part. The next part is the digital twin. Digital twin is because you have a replica of a physical entity. You have a computer, you have a machine. The same machine is in a digital form in the computer. And it is interoperable. So if anything happens to the machine, it will change in the your diagrammatic formation in your computer, and whatever you change here, it will have to be changed there. So you have an interoperable connections, and it controls the real assets, the asset what you have, and second, it takes care of the operational impacts like age, degradation, or its performance, or whatever it is, you can control from here. And then it also takes care of the environmental impact, because when you keep a machine outside, we don't know what's happening, but what is happening should be seen in our computer, then we can adjust it. This is called the digital twin. So a cyber physical system with the AI, ML, and DT is called a Industry 4.0 machine, provided it is used along with certain technologies. These technologies are the ones which I mentioned you in your master skill. 2S, 2C, 2A, IBR. 2 S's. That is, the first S is simulation. As engineers, we cannot take the risk of creating something and say it is failing. So we need to do everything on the table, find out which is right, wrong, and correct everything there, then and there, and then we go on. So it starts with designing, drafting, making a product, going for a service, and then enabling its processes, taking care of its repairs and maintenance, quality, going on with its usability. Then you go on with accidents, hazards, everything can be simulated, and then you can use it. This is how a Industry 4.0 machine will have the simulation as an entry level requirement for its existence. So if you want to get in, you can think about simulation tools which you like, and then you can prepare yourself or learn it and then get certified on it, and you can be ready. The second is the systems integration. Here you have a physical machine connected with a sensor, and the sensor gives you signals. So you need to integrate this. In an enterprise, it is called as a vertical integration or a horizontal integration. Vertical integration is nothing but you have certain data or raw material which goes on into your machine, your enterprise. It gets pre-processed, processed, then post-processed, then you have quality, then you have inspections, and then you finally deliver it in a right way, along with maintaining your machines and process controls. So this one is called a vertical integration, anything which happens from a raw material to a product output. Then second is horizontal integration. Industries require a lot of a lot of uh, requirements for sourcing. Sourcing in the sense, you have a lot of materials to be sources. So you go to a supplier and you buy from them. It is not necessitated that that supplier should sell only to you. He can sell also to your competitor. So similarly, you are also not necessitated that you should stick on with one supplier. So you can change your suppliers. So you as an enterprise go with various suppliers, S1, S2, S3, S4. Similarly, you can have a lot of connections with your subcontractors, sub-assemblers, vendors, etc. Similarly, in marketing, you have stockists, you have your distributors, then you have retailers. All those guys can also go into your horizontal deployment or horizontal integration. For getting specialized into this program of systems integration, you should be certified in any of your ERPs. ERPs are many, SAP, Oracle, and Siebel, and many players are available. So you need to pick which is suitable to you and orient yourself. At the same time, be a specialist in operations research. Maximizations for an enterprise should go. All your queuing theory, inventory controls, many things are there. So if you get into operations research and you master it, you will get into it. The third part is your cloud computing. Cloud is nothing but a pathway for all storage, servers, your networks, database, you have applications, then you have analytics, everything. You could have seen instances such as SaaS, SaaS, software as a service, PaaS, platform as a service, IaaS, infrastructure as a service. All these are cloud computing. These parts are nothing but it should be simple, safe, flexible, innovative, scalable, whatever it is. You pick areas where you are required to do it and you can grow accordingly. This is the part of cloud. The next is your cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is required because a lot of data is going to be handled by people. You should know who should get the data or who should be accessible to the data, who should see, who should not see, who should save, and all those features. So assigning rights is the one which is required in this is an important form to get the cybersecurity. Once you get you assign the rights, even then you will get into problems. That's where you should know how to trace or track back and identify where the problem has happened, and then you have to go with it. So these are called trails. Then there will be situations where things cannot be handled in a quicker time. So you need to have disaster management. So you go back, close it, shut it, bounce back, get the database from a virtual location, connect it to your application, and then start driving it. And then you have encryptions. You want to conceal or safeguard your secrecy or confidential matters. Then you code it and send it so that they can decode it and understand it. All these things are required for us to be protected from intrusions, malwares, hacking, and have a reduced response time, incident response time. This is how the cybersecurity is planned. So if you want to learn this, this also has a great opportunity in the future. The next part is your additive manufacturing, which is more important for mechanical engineers and especially the production processes handling people. All the formations of metal formations, metal joining, everything is going to go off. You're not going to have castings made, forgings, extrusions, forming, and all these things, and joining operations like welding, soldering, brazing, riveting, and be fitting, and all these things. It's going to be all are going to be integral parts. You're going to have optical fabrication, photo solidification, fused deposition. All these techniques are evolving in a higher range so that you can do it for shorter money, that is cost or resource requirements, inventory, less time to manufacture, quick processing, have less time, batch produced, and then quickly satisfying the customer requirements. So this way, the Industry 4.0 will take in the additive manufacturing, which is called as the 3D printing, which is evolving highly. The next part to it is called the augmented reality, AR. To understand augmented reality, you should know what a Google Earth does. A similar thing is going to happen in a real time. Google Earth, if you click on the Google Earth icon, you go in. As you go down, you see the land masses, you see the water masses, and then water. And then you click on the land masses, you get into regions, continents, then go for cities or countries, cities. Go to the roads, pick your buildings, make your 2D into 3D. All these things you do it. It's nothing but an overlay of digital information and content. That's all. It's already captured photo imagery, which is being placed sequentially, so that as you go down the depth of the satellite view, you get into it. In reality, an augmented reality is going to have a computer generated image on you as a wearable, like a glass. You wear it, or you have a display. On that, there will be a computer generated image. When that image syncs with the reality, then onwards, your computer will start giving you the information what to go next. So augmented reality is seen for a better application in defense aspects, where people are very fragile to be confronted with a kind of a calamity. So they position themselves to the real situation, and they are also guided by telewatching, like drones or cameras, multiple cameras, and they get inputs, and accordingly they can do it. It also can be a night vision camera, so you can have a 24/7 watching everything. It is also used in industrial maintenance, where maintenance people who can wear it, they can go to repair machines. So automatic, they get a lot of information by recall, relate, and refine. That is the Radiant skills which I informed earlier. The next is called the IoT. IoT is Internet of Things. Internet of Things is, you have a physical machine, you have a computing device, which both of them have to be connected. That part is called the IoT. The basic IoT of Industry 4.0 as on today is RFID, radio frequency. This is nothing but for a RTLS, real-time location system. But an exponential, if you want to go on for autonomous modes and things, you need to have exponential AIs. You will have quantum computing, and then biodigital integrations, and all the stuff are going to come. These are higher order requirements of IoTs. So this is again a very important area. If you want, you can learn it. IoTs have become very more prominently present. The basic understanding of what an IoT is: every phone has a Bluetooth. The Bluetooth is an IoT, because when your phone is connected with connected to Bluetooth, the machine can sense other machine which has a proximity to reach. You need not go and reach; the machine will take care. The next part is your big data. Big data is nothing but a voluminous data. Voluminous data, which is first warehoused, it is stored, then it is computed, then it is engineered, and then it is being done into a data mining. The last part from the mining is called the enriched data, what you are going to use, and the other data is going to be hived off. The enriched data is the one which is applied for applications for making decision making. The best application of big data is seen in CRMs, customer relationship management. When a customer walks into a shop and he is going to pick a material or any equipment or any item, the shopkeeper will know what item this person is going to pick. So such will be the transparency which this big data is going to bring.
Okay.
It will connect a lot of things, even what gadget at home is not working or working, or how much money you have, everything it's a big data. So opportunity for you people to work on this is also great. The next part, the last, is the robotics, which is a kind of play which everyone aspires to know. It has a lot of cameras, multiple cameras, or a vision aided systems. These are for deterministic position and actuation. So this robotics is one which will enable you to do a lot of activities like positioning, picking, placing, welding, riveting, whatever it is, any thing, cleaning, any activities can be done. All this is nothing but to support or improve the quality of work life, as this takes care of hard to access areas, and then safe living conditions. It helps you, and it works in the source of contamination. You need not worry what kind of a area you're going to work, because the machine is going to, or the gadget or the device or equipment is going to take it. This is how the robotics. So all these are interdisciplinary. And if you want to go into it, you need to team up with people, learn, and then come up. See, end of the requirement for Industry 4.0, the shift is, you cannot say I'm a mechanical engineer and I stick on to mechanical engineering. No, it is highly interdisciplinary. It goes with the technology which is used for the industry, and accordingly you need to position and grow with it. See, tomorrow's requirement for industries are skills and quality. If you can deliver these two, then you have a better employment opportunity. If you want to position yourself and you grow, the organization which is employing you will have a leverage on its competitive edge, and it will have a successful business growth. This is how it happens. To close, I tell you one thing, which is, if you're ignorant and you are unaware that how to get onto it, then it is not your problem. Having known what is required, and if you omit it, you will lose opportunity for your employment in the future. Thank you for the opportunity given to me. I'm available for questions and answers.
Thank you for your valuable session. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm available. Can you hear me? I'm available for your questions.
Okay. So that in the case of Industry 4.0, in all industries, they are adopting such a kind of Industry 4.0, or well-equipped industry only, they are following it?
Correct. Good question. See, people who are getting onto Industry 4.0 are people who are cash rich. They are the ones who can afford to do the experimentation of this inclusion of innovation. But the people who are not attempting now will be forced to attempt in the later stage. See, like a mobile phone, when it came, people thought it was a luxury. But today, mobile phone is not a luxury, it is an essential item. Like that. But if you see, mobile phones are not required. Only when you require to communicate, you require the gadget. But we all take it. So this is an innovation which will be so catchy. It's so contagious. So every organization will do it. The reason is they will depend more on the usability of the in a machine or gadget rather than the requirement, because it is affordable to them in a longer run. On a longer run, the reliability between the customer and the organization is better built through Industry 4.0 than the normal way of functioning. That is the reason.
Thank you, sir. Excellent presentation. So any other questions?
I'll be happy if anyone asks anything. Don't worry about it, because that's how we learn.
Prabhu? 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 Thank you, sir. Prabhu?
Sir.
Conclude பண்ணிக்கலாங்களா?
Okay, sir. Okay.
வேற ஏதாவது क्वेश्चंस இருக்குங்களா?
வேற எதுவும் இல்லைங்க சார்.
ஓகேங்க சார். ஓகே.
தேங்க்ஸ் சொல்லுங்க சார்.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. Thank you, Dr. Krishna Numachandran. On your busy schedule, you accepted our invitation and given an excellent webinar on this great occasion. Because the Industry 4.0 is excellent area and you have covered additive manufacturing, IoT, and many masters and many things you have covered. Excellent speech you have given. We never expect such a wonderful session from you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your kind information. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Prabhu?
சார் எண்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாங்களா?
Main பண்ணிக்கலாம் சார். க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிடலாம். Thank you.
ஓகே சார், தேங்க்யூ.
Thank you.
Dear participants, the feedback link is in chat box. Kindly fill the feedback form.